future if you're answering the same questions about 3 days training a million times.
Yeah. What do you mean 3 days? Do you mean 3 days in a row, or do you mean 3 days? 3 days. 3 days.
No, 3 days. Yeah.
3 days.
Right.
But that
cool.
can't be right.
It is. Right. Cool. So, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Natty Scene. This time we're joined with a guest. I haven't had a guest on the podcast for a while. I think I got up to about 7 or 8 solo podcasts. So it's either with George, and obviously we had a few other natural bodybuilders this year, but I always try, and I'd always love to get more people on as guests. Obviously, this guest today is a guest already on the podcast, but he's got a new title to his name since he was a guest earlier in the year. But I think for everyone that knew Ben and knew his caliber and what he was able to put on stage, they would have known that this title was probably his for the taking at some point in the year or at some point in the future. And obviously he managed to do it this year. He became WNBF Pro Lightweight World Champion, which is an incredible accolade to have to his name, of which will stand for a long, long time. And we're going to chat today about, obviously we chatted back in July, we chatted before the, pretty much like sort of just as you'd started prep, to be honest, after you had the issue with your glute, and then just as you sort of got started coming down. So we're going to wrap up basically his World Finals trip, how it all went about, whether he thought that there was anything he could have done differently or changed, lessons learned, etc. over the weekend, and obviously just wrapping up the result itself. But it's always it's going to be a huge pleasure to obviously speak to Ben, someone that's been in the sport for a long, long time. Put up on Instagram the other day a 9-year transformation photo, and there's not many people that can actually do that, and put up 9 years worth of physique progression in a stage picture to a stage picture. Very few that actually sort of commit to natural bodybuilding for that level of time. So a wealth of anecdotal and experience knowledge from Ben. So yeah, we'll get straight stuck into things, Ben. So give us a little bit, before we go into the Worlds itself, give us a little bit of a wrap up between the start of your prep and the first show, the UK show. How do you think that went looking back on it? And how do you feel like your condition was at the UK show, comparative to the last time you competed? What did you think you improved over the period of time that you had in the off season to the UK show?
Okay. So first of all, thanks for having me on again. Great to have you on. Amazing time at the Worlds. Yes. Really cool to catch up. I'm glad that we're going to be doing this. Before I crack on with, how I got on with the Worlds and the UK, we're going to be doing this quite frequently, aren't we? We're going to be doing some content for your website. It's probably going to be about 10 minutes per week. Question and answers, blogs. Going to kind of do this as a journey for my off season, for people to learn. I mean, obviously everyone documents their pre-contest like I did. I've never documented my off season before, so if anyone's interested in that, get onto the site, and I'm sure they will put a link onto your site down below.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be very exciting.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah. So I mean, the first time I stepped on stage this year was guest posing at the Heart of England. So I was that was September, and I think I was about was it 9 weeks out from the Worlds? Four or 5 weeks out. Yeah, and to be honest, I knew I was in good shape upper body. I was pretty much there, and yes, agreed. I was pretty disappointed with. I thought I was in better shape than I was. Looking back at the pictures, I was like, I'm really gonna have to start, grinding. And I was probably 1 kilo heavier than the Worlds 2 years previous when I won my pro card. So I thought that I could maybe match that shape at the heart. At a kilo heavier, match the shape, have a bit more size, but that wasn't the case. And I really knew that I had to grind a little bit further, diet a little bit harder, and maybe come in which turned out I was actually lighter this year than when I won my pro card. So, it's crazy. When I won the junior title 9 years ago, I didn't have much muscle at all, and I didn't have that muscle maturity. I wasn't as lean, but I was only 1 kilo lighter than this year. 1
Wow,
kilo.
fucking hell.
So it's not all about gaining 100 pounds in the off season. Yeah, and as a natural bodybuilder, I think people talk about muscle density and maturity and that sort of thing, and the look. Nobody cares how much you weigh on stage. Nobody cares how much you've gained, but they judge you on the day. And I had to get lighter, and I knew that from the Heart of England. I came out. I pretty much screwed up my guest posing. I don't think many people realise, but I lost my timing halfway through. I spent half the time on stage just kind of stood there and
doing most muskers.
Yeah. It was very IFBB. It was I wasn't completely happy. It was such an honour to be up there as a guest poser. I don't think I put too much pressure on myself, really.
Okay.
But I should have just had fun and left it at that. And but I went away. It did exactly what Lee Kempy gave me a ring when I got home, and he was like, "How do you feel about that?" And I told him, and he was like, "Right, so now it's time to work." And he's glad that I feel that way because now it's drop the hammer time. And I had 4 or 5 weeks between the guest posing and the UK. And the goal at the start of the year, when I wrote down my goals, was top 3 at the UK in my weight class and top 5 in the world in my pro debut year. Very much prepared to I would have been very happy with those results. I would have been happy regardless. Pro debut, you can't control who's going to turn up and that sort of thing. But that was kind of in the back of my mind. So to come to the UK International, and I knew that some big names were competing. I knew that top 3 would be a real good result, and came away with the win. And I was really, really pleased with the progress from the Heart of England to the UK, and that had come down to changing a few things. I was, back to your original question, it was a 28-week prep from the start to the Worlds. And I think 9 up until the Heart of England, I was training an upper-lower split, training just 3 times per week, but I was creeping that volume up, and to the point of up to doing 2-hour sessions, which is quite common now. I know you train a long period of time, but it's unheard of for me to train more than about an hour and a half. And during a deficit, during 12 weeks before the Worlds, our son arrived. So we had a newborn baby as well. I obviously had this minor surgery 17 weeks out as well, and that had, stressed me out a little bit. So I was under a lot of stress, lack of sleep, and upping my training, and I was looking less and less recovered. I was looking more stressed, and you could definitely tell that I was flat all the time, but I was getting weaker in the gym and that sort of thing. So after the Heart of England, had a chat with Lee, and he was like, "Look, just do things your way. You are a world champion. You are pro standard, a pro world standard. Do what you think works for you, because best. Stop asking people what to do. Just do what you got to do." So I just went back to my old ways, which was a 3-day split, old school, training heavy, everything once per week, enjoying the way I train, really tearing it up in the gym, but recovering from it. And eating my way as well, which was just 3 basic meals with 3 protein shakes in between, with some fruit, healthy meals, and just enjoying it. And it just felt a lot more at ease, and I was able to actually improve my strength going into the UK show, and my weight came down 2 kilos. So I actually weighed less at the UK than I did at the amateur Worlds.
Wow.
So yeah, and then I looked a lot better. I was so happy with how I looked. Yeah, best ever condition, full. I felt confident on stage. The peak was perfect. I just did things my way, which was real relaxed. Slight increase in food the day before, but nothing crazy. Really sensitive to like carbs and sodium and things like that. So I didn't mess around. I just kind of upped my food, what I was eating anyway, and came in and managed to win, which was just mind blowing, and took the overall as well.
You were still shocked. Yeah, you were very shocked at the overall.
Like, unbelievable.
Did you ever think that you could kind of achieve that kind of thing in your first year?
No. And I knew me and Damo were quite evenly matched. He's got muscle maturity, and he could make me look real small in some of his shots, especially his side chest shots. He's got a much bigger chest, much harder quads. He really caused some damage on the stage. But the judges saw it my way on the day. I think, I don't know, maybe from the back I was like more conditioned and had more sight. Yeah, and that's what the judges went for on the day. And obviously Thomas as well came third. Fantastic. I was at the Worlds in 2016 when I won my pro card, and he came second at the Worlds that year.
Wow.
And I remember just sitting right at the front and just thinking, wow, he's not going to beat Ortiz, who's just a freak. A massive quads and just like the best lightweight you'll ever kind of see. But he's an easy second. And I just rock hard, again, mature muscle and great shape. And I just thought, if I can compete against him and do well, fantastic. So to beat him as well was a real kind of privilege.
Yeah.
But to go into the overall, is it Martin Petro?
Yes.
He again conditioned, thick muscle. If you look at some of the shots, me stood next to him, he just makes me look like a child. His arms, his chest, his back. He's so strong in the gym as well. And just does basic stuff. He, again, trains 3 days a week. Sometimes 4 maximum. Old school kind of heavy weights, good natural food, and that's how he looks. But I think the judges preferred my shape. He's quite a big blocky guy, and I've got quite a small waist and a bit more of an X frame, and I think that's what the judges kind of went for again on the day. So to say that overall, that's a massive highlight. They all are massive highlights, but that was just an amazing day. My family were there. My son and daughter was old enough. She's now 3.5, so she was old enough to know what's going on. She's there shouting. Support and stuff, and my son got him on stage with my partner as well, and that was just special. That was real cool.
Absolutely. That was definitely a great day to watch as well on my end, because obviously having followed your prep and knowing how much you wanted to do well, but not only that, watching someone of your caliber be humble in that experience as well, and not come in guns blazing saying I'm gonna win it. Being very sort of set aside to that, and it just makes it so much more awesome to watch when you see someone humble take a victory that they've worked extremely hard for. So it was fantastic, mate, and obviously great in terms of the way you put across the fact that you're going your way with things, because I know that you're, like, having spent some time with you at the Worlds, you're very much an individual that wants to learn and wants to gauge what other people are doing, and that's fantastic, and I think a lot of people are like that. But in the process of a prep, it's a case of knuckling down and doing what's always worked and what works for you, which is very, very individual dependent. And you've obviously seen that in your results that you had in the short moment of time from the Heart of England to the finals. Drastic changes with an approach that has simply just worked for you in the past. So that's great to see. So upon the UK result, what was your general thesis around heading to Worlds? What did you feel like you needed to do in terms of making your mark on the world stage and obviously vying for what you deemed as your goal with the top 5? What did you feel like you had to do to improve from the UK?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I knew that Dabo and Thomas were both going out to the World, so that made me really confident that, and I know that they've both come runners up at the Worlds before, so I knew that a top five was well within my grasp if I really knuckled down. Um,
Yeah.
so it made it quite easy to set the goal because they set the weight class in advance. So I knew that I had to lose weight. I had to diet down further. If that wasn't the case, I maybe would have not dropped so much weight, but I'm kind of glad I did because I came in
Yeah.
sharper at the Worlds. I weighed in at 159.9 and it was a
Yeah.
160 pound cut-off. And that calibrated scale was like this on the morning. And I had my last meal on the plane, maybe 12 hours before weigh-in, maybe longer. That was my last meal, and it was tiny little meals as well to make sure I wasn't bloated. No like big piles of veg or anything like that. And like a protein shake before bed, and that was it. And then I got up, walking around all morning, bit of posing, that sort of thing. Then weighed in, 50 grams into the lightweight category. So yeah, it could have been a sip of water or something.
Yep.
Could have had me over, but that all just came together perfectly, and I was just like, yes, this is looking good now. I'm going to be the heaviest lightweight up there, and this is my last chance to compete at the Worlds as a lightweight at my first pro debut. So let's give it everything. And I was confident going into that. I knew that my condition was only going to get better as I maybe ate some food during the day. And I had like a typical off-season amount of calories for me. It was about 3,000 a day. And I had that on the day before the show. And I was just looking better and better as the day went on. And then by the end of the day, looking real full. By the morning, looking still full but crisp. And yeah, as you text me at 5 a.m. saying, if you want to come down for some you knew I'd be awake. So I was like, yeah, come down. Came down, did some posing, and yeah, I knew I'm going to do well.
Yeah. I can totally agree that your peaking process was very well thought through because you could have probably gotten away with multiple days of loading, but you had the travel involved on the long flight, very very long flight, which is disruptive for someone who stays as active as you. Doing 10,000 steps a day on a plane is a little
hard work.
Yeah, I saw you walking up and down the aisles as many times as you could.
Just I had to keep moving, man.
Yeah, do you find, interestingly enough, like I found the flight very difficult from a satiety aspect because when you're usually at home in between meals, you can go for a walk or you can keep busy and you can keep your mind occupied. But I can imagine you like on like low food because you had to make the weight, and also the fact that you were sitting still, so you finished a meal and you just like sat there afterwards. Did you find that flight a little bit tough, or have you gotten used to it with flying out a couple of times for Worlds now?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I would. I thought I'd really struggle because being hungry through prep anyway. And I thought sat down just thinking about maybe food, thinking about but I obviously having a newborn, I haven't had a night's sleep with less than more than 4 hours between like break, getting up and making bottles and that sort of thing. So man, I was looking forward to just 11 hours of just chilling, listening to music, watching a bit of telly, and I really just kicked back and now I was chilling out. It was so stressful the last few weeks of prep. As experiences you can be, it doesn't get any easier. And with work and with family and with other problems and obstacles that are going to arise.
Yeah,
it never gets easy. So just to get on that plane and that'd be like bang, listen to some music, bit of food, chilling, chatting to some of the UK team I'd never spoken to before, never really knew. So it was cool to walk around and chat to the team and get to know everyone. And the team was awesome this year. There's usually, out of everybody that goes, there's one or two people that are a bit closed up, or they've maybe a bit negative, or it just happens in a large group. But everybody was just awesome. And I knew that after leaving after chatting to everyone on the plane, I knew that, this is going to be the best team yet. We're going to have some cool times.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I didn't find it too difficult, the plane journey. It was more focused on making the weight. And I was way within the weight for the last week or so. I was maybe 1 or 2 pounds.
Yeah.
I was weighing in at like 158, 159 in the morning. So to come in at 159.9, I knew that it's just good. I didn't want to get too flat and too, depleted. So I knew I couldn't get any better, couldn't get any kind of tighter than that.
And for people that obviously I know with travelling in the past on a plane and doing shows, but for people that aren't aware and maybe are going to travel on a plane and do a show or come across the Worlds if they're looking to qualify and things like that, how did you manage your food? Did you take your food with you on the plane? How did you manage your meals with the time difference? And also, how did you manage your water on the plane as well? How did you sort of manage those things?
Yeah, so again, Lee Kemp, who's looks over everything I do, he has done since day one. He knows to give me advice that's simple and easy to follow. And if he said to me, look, I want you to manipulate this and every 2 hours sip on this, he knows I'm just going to stress. So he's like, no, eat your normal food. There's an 8-hour time difference, so add 2 meals. He knows I have a meal, a shake, a meal, a shake, a meal, like that throughout the day. So it was just like, have another meal, have another shake, job done. And that's what I did. So yeah, I took it all on the plane. Real simple, real easy. Have a shaker bottle, load of water, a couple of sachets of protein, and a few tubs of food. And every few hours, you just crack it open.
Yep.
Job done. Alternate, make it simple. The last meal is, you can't take any food off the plane into the States the other side. So as the plane's landing, you have your last meal. And then we got to the hotel, went out shopping, prepped a load of food for the next day. And that last meal was just going to be a shake anyway. So, yeah, real simple.
Perfect.
I didn't even prep food, in fact, until after I weighed in the next day. I didn't have to stay up all night. Like last time, I stayed up and cooked loads of food and didn't get much sleep and stressed it. I just went to bed, just chilled. Yeah. I shared a room with Henry, who won the World Grandmaster's title. He's such a cool guy, such a hardcore, old school guy, but he was just like, right, and he had a steak and went to bed, and he was such a cool. Yeah, he bought all basic ingredients loads of organic vegetables, loads of organic meat and stuff, and he was just cooking these wicked meals, and he cooked me a load of food as well, so that was pretty cool. Made it even more stress free for me.
Yeah. That's one of the good things about traveling with the UKDFBA is we obviously you get teamed up with some other competitor in your room, and I was with the physique guy Kieran, and I was with Jack Stanier as well, the teen. So I had a fantastic time with those guys as well, and you make some really good friends, and obviously you're all sort of comparing processes, and people do things so differently, but you just got to crack on with your own thing, and so it's such a great experience. It's why traveling with the UKDFBA is just fantastic. And obviously for the amateurs, everything is pretty much there for you on a plate. You get to travel with them, you get to get your hotel all paid for, and all you have to do is feed yourself like you would at home.
We're so lucky, man.
It's mind blowing.
Lee makes sure it's not just a contest. He makes it a real life changing experience. And it truly is. He doesn't do things by halves. He'll look after you and work first thing in the morning until last thing at night to make sure that your experience is the one that he wants for you. What did we bring home? 10 world champions this time?
Exactly.
Crazy.
And that's why it's partly why we do that is because we have some of the best athletes obviously in the UK, but also it's like how we travel across, how we form a team, and that support is going to help the athletes chill out, relax, and do their best and perform their best. And that's why we're putting good athletes on stage, is because we're supporting them so well. So it's all these things that Lee does definitely does pay off in the caliber of athletes that we see on our qualifiers and our finals. It's just all paying off, and that's why we're bringing home so many trophies.
Yeah, and it's why the UKDFBA grows so much every year as well. As every qualifier and final, every show this year was sold out. The venues are almost too small now for the UKDFBA. Great venues, but he was, raising money for charity, selling tickets and things after people left, and it's just I've never known it to grow anything to grow so quickly. Year on year. I know that this coming year, the dates were released today. It's going to be a 2-day event, the finals, and rightly so. Yes. It needs to be. Yeah. As big as the venue was for the finals, it was packed. So room for growth.
Competitors were on stage too late. It's just going to get later and later as well, isn't it? So. Yeah.
But awesome. Can't wait for next year. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the split day will favour the spectators as well, because if they'd split it the way that it was discussed, I think it was most likely going to be some form of physique and bikini on one day with potentially figure with them or something like that. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think it will favour the spectators, because there's a lot of spectators for physique and bikini that aren't particularly too interested in bodybuilding and all of the other men's and women's classes, that they're just really interested in seeing bikini and physique. So I think it will favour the support that we get for each competitor as well, because you'll have had some of the bodybuilding people leave by that point, or physique people not turn up, etc., until later. So the support will probably be even better, and the audience will be hanging around for the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if people are into bodybuilding, they're going to see a bodybuilding show, and if people are more into the physique, that's what they're going to be there for. So, why not?
Absolutely. Yeah, sick. So, Worlds itself, let's discuss a little bit of that. So, you got to Worlds, you got all your meals ready after the weigh-in, you weighed in. The show day itself, how did you find the show day? Obviously, going back to a venue where, you won your pro card. That must have brought back a lot of fantastic memories. And,
amazing, yeah.
Yeah. So explain the show day. How did that all pan out for you?
Cool. Okay, so obviously all the polygraph and everything's done the day before. You're all set. You have an athletes meeting the night before, and they told us in the athletes meeting that they were going to split the lightweights into light and bantam. So under 160 and 150, up to 160. So it was perfect for me. There was, I think, 8 in my class, and 8 in maybe 7 or 8 in bantam and lightweight. So really good. I knew some real good guys, including Damo and Thomas, who had stood on stage already with, plus another couple of guys that had come runners up at the Worlds before.
Yes.
So. Yeah, really excited. Good night's sleep, ish, and woke up real. Yeah, I mean, it was more excitement than there was no nerves. I was excited. I knew the work was done. I was looking better as time went on. Almost a full belly at that point. Went to bed, and woke up 5 a.m. real excited. So time to go. Once we did a bit of posing, got to the venue pretty early. I think it was like before 8 o'clock. And with the split show, so there's pre-judging, which is the judging part. The main, I think at least 2/3 of the show is judged. And I knew that I always look better first thing in the morning if I can get enough carbs in and just snack throughout the day. I look better, and then I start kind of once I'm as full as I'm going to get, I start to smooth over a little bit, but and looking a bit tired by the evening. So I knew that was in my favour also. Got backstage. Team UK kind of had a big kind of space, which was great. And backstage was massive anyway. So you're chatting to all these guys, all these world champions and stuff that you see on the internet and have heard about. And that just adds to the experience. We were called that we were going to be on stage in half an hour. So started slapping the tan on. We had a great support network come with us. We had Scott Gelton, we had Rich Walker, and whole team yourself, slapping tan on, and yeah, did a great job. I think you put the tan on me in about 7 minutes, so that was pretty cool. All slapped on, good to go, pump up. I didn't even have to get the chocolate out my bag. You even did that for me. So yeah, you were hand feeding me, pumping up. It made it real effortless. And then we went out. I instantly knew, we were all lined up and they put me in the middle straight away, and I was just like, this is good. This is looking good. Having judged a couple of shows in the past, I know this is a good sign. And then there were rotating people around me for most of the judging. The judging takes ages at the Worlds. It's real hard work. But adrenaline's pumping. You want to have as much time on stage as you can. So you're constantly working. People are rotating around me. And then they pushed me off right to the end. And I was worried for a second. I was thinking, this is great and everything. And then they put me on the end, and I'm thinking, this could mean one or two things. This could mean, I was weaker on some of the shots. It looked great from the back, and when we went into the muscularity round, maybe I wasn't quite as good. But then none of the judges were looking at me at all. They were looking straight in the middle. So I was going through the shots, and none of the judges were even looking in my direction. So I knew that could have been pretty good. They've probably judged me. They've placed me. And now it's on to second and third, which it evidently was at the end. When they announced after the posing round, world champion. Madness. Still hasn't sunk in, mate. Still hasn't sunk in.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. No, amazing.
Were you still sort of like carrying a little? I mean, you said you obviously weren't nervous the night before. When you sort of hit the stage and were up there, and you realised like, whoa, fuck, like I'm actually in this lineup, I'm being called centre, and I'm being held here. Did that initial moment of being held centre and sort of going through the initial poses, did that sort of make you feel a little bit more anxious, a little bit more nervous, and did you feel like a bit unsteady in that moment? Or
I usually have the same thoughts go through my head whenever I compete, and I remember there's been a few times in the past. One time in 2016 when I was at the Heart of England, and I really didn't believe in myself at that point. And I was in the overall. I won my weight class, won the middleweight. So I was in the overall with Sam Watt. And I was just stood next to Sam, and multiple British champion, and I was just having fun. And I remember looking down, and Mark Oakes was sat there, and he was just like, "Get working. No, this could be yours." And I kind of had that mindset again, because I look around and there's these world champions and stuff, and I could lose out if I didn't work, and if I stood next to Sam and just kind of messing around, being like, wow, look at this guy, and getting a few photos and stuff, I could have been judged or not judged and lost. So I make sure I graft every time I'm on stage now, and really work as if if it's a split decision. Treat it like it's going to be a split decision, and they need to see that little bit extra. So when Mark Oakes, he looked up and he was like, you start working now, graft, this could be yours, and I went on to win that overall. Sam beat me at the British a few weeks later, but I went on to win the overall, and I just kind of, my expectations of myself went much higher after that win. So I treat every competition like a split decision now. So that's what I was doing. I was in the middle, but I was like, right, I need to hit I do posing practice every day when I'm competing during the prep. So I was like hitting it harder than I've ever posed before, trying to make it look effortless, and it pulled off.
Yeah, absolutely, and I could tell. You can tell as a spectator in the overall, even in the overall, when you're up against Babacar, who's like Sam, is a similar caliber, multiple champion. You could tell as soon as you sort of got into your initial poses, you were like, okay, I'm going to give this everything I've got.
Yeah, that's what I'm there for.
I'm keep battling like this guy is beatable, and I think that's really important for people to understand, especially people doing their first show who are lacking initial confidence, and they're unsure as to the expectations they should put on themselves. Like, where am I going to place? What am I going to do? I always find that, funnily enough, like coaching clients, the ones that don't think that they're the shit are actually the shit, and they're going to do really, really well, and they should have more confidence. And this is a big thing that I want to put into my clients this year, is like helping them out more one-to-one with not only just how they're setting up posing, but how they're going into shots, how they're presenting themselves with confidence.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my really good clients this year, like I saw them on stage, and I just wanted to teach them how to want it more, you know?
Yeah.
And,
have some incredible
that's
physiques.
That takes time though, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's again at the British in 2016. I was look backstage like, oh no, I don't think I'm going to do well. And Rich Gozdecki, a good friend of mine, he was like, get up there, own the stage, be the first to hit every shot. You know, right in the centre. You know, don't mess around. You know, be confident. And you know, having someone like Rich tell you things, you're like, yeah, all right. Yeah, I'll do that. And it was the same with some of your clients this year. Some phenomenal physiques, you know, that were almost hiding, you know, at the back of the stage a little bit, or coming out. You know, if they were confident, you'd think, wow, it would add almost another 10% to their physique, because everything would just kind of flow. But they were hiding away a little bit, and it really does. You can tell, you know, when you're on there, you know, under the lights, you can't hide. You know, you've got to be confident. So even appear confident just for that few minutes. You know, even if you're not a confident guy, you know, appear, you know, confident, and you know, it'll pull off.
Yeah, I mean, you even said it to me when I was pumping up backstage at the British for the juniors. You know, you even said it to me. You were like, you know, positive reinforcement that my conditioning was sort of not anyone else was going to beat it. And that for me was enough for me to just hit every shot with a lot of confidence and be like not cocky, but be a little bit like showy on the shots that I knew that I had. So on the shots that made me look better than the rest in terms of conditioning, down the side of my thigh into my glute and hamstring. You know, when I knew that I had those bits and those body parts, like I would be very much like, you know, this is here, they haven't got that kind of thing.
Yeah, you've worked hard, you've grafted for years for those body parts, you know, for you know, your strengths and everything. Show them. That's what you're there for. You're there to compete. You know, you don't have to be aggressive to compete. You know, you don't have to be pushing all your competitors out the way and everything. But
no,
show yourself to the best of your ability. You know, treat it like you've already won. You know, and you know, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a difference between confidence and cockiness.
Yeah. Now, is there anything that you think you change or do differently with the whole world's experience, or would you just say that it was pretty damn fucking tick the box kind of thing, done everything? Wouldn't change
like
anything.
At the worlds itself, or the prep, or you know.
Just the worlds weekend. Whether anything in the period up to it. Whether you know did you push too hard in the training session before? I saw you training your fucking balls off on the day before. You were going to keep that a secret, but I'm gonna let
don't tell Lee.
Know. You know, you're definitely not keeping reps in reserve on the bench press.
No. I saw you on the bench next to me repping out, so I thought, it's gotta, you know.
I was just scared you were going to tear a pec, but I just let you go and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I never normally train like that either. It was just because, showing off a little bit.
Completely stupid idea.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Yeah, luckily it didn't hinder my.
Mate.
Yeah, stupid. I was drop sets, super sets.
So that was meant to be a pump session, right? So I think maybe the only thing you change is do an actual pump session.
Yeah. In 2016, when I guess that would be. I don't know if I'd change that. I can't say I'd change anything now. I've come home the world champion and had. It was a great session and a great play. We went to that Dave Fisher's powerhouse gym, didn't we? And that's my favourite gym in LA, without a doubt. He was there. He was a great guy, and it was just hardcore. We had like metal being put. You know, we had things like Disturbed and. Avenged Sevenfold, and you know, being pumped down the system. He put on whatever music you want. Equipment was great. Even went through some posing with an IFBB Pro afterwards. You know, it doesn't get better than that. and we saw Arnie at Gold's Gym, so there you go.
Yeah.
So it's a real experience.
So post show, obviously you're infamous for not handling that phase too well. You've had phases of weight regain that's been potentially a bit too fast, etc., etc. And you were, you came into it committed to not have that happen again. And actually watching you, I think besides the one first meal, I think you actually did a pretty good job at remaining fairly sensible, to be honest. From the outside looking in, I thought you did a fairly good job. But just be honest, talk people through the day after the show, how the whole eating scenario went, even to the point of the final meal that you had.
Which one? Yeah. Okay. Right. So being honest now, I've made it a priority. In fact, it was one of my goals, as high as doing well at the Worlds, was to have a healthy. I wrote it as have a healthy transition back into the off season, and for me that means gaining an initial bit of weight, and having a couple of days of just normal eating like a normal person, and then tapering up my food. So maybe by Christmas, I'd be about a stone over contest weight, about 6 weeks after. And I think that was kind of a good thing. So we went to In-N-Out Burger after the show, which is kind of a tradition. If you compete in LA, it's open till silly o'clock in the morning. We went there with some of the team. I had an In-N-Out Burger, great. Didn't do much damage, but pretty salty, to be fair, and was swelling up big time, by the way, when I went home.
Started the swell.
Yeah, and I was just on such a high, so I got back to the hotel at 2 a.m. The show didn't finish. We didn't leave till it was maybe gone 12:30, half midnight, something like that. So after, queuing up for this burger, and there's a massive queue at 1 a.m., God knows why, LA, and got back to the hotel at 2, managed to FaceTime my girlfriend and kids, and was giving them a little tour of the hotel and that sort of thing. And then had just a million messages on Instagram saying congratulations and photos and footage and stuff. That was replying. I like to reply to everybody that, congratulates you, because I was that guy. I still am that guy. I'm a huge fan of the sport, and it's nice to interact with people that are winning at the time and stuff. So, I was there,
of course,
messaging back. Before I knew it, it was 5:30. They started to put out the stuff for breakfast, and I was like, come on, give me a break. So, hadn't had a wink of sleep, still got my tan on. So I went up and had a shower, woke Henry up, bless him. He pretends that he didn't wake up, but he was awake. And got my tan off, came downstairs and thought, well, breakfast is out now, I might as well dig in. Didn't have a wink of sleep, was so fatigued, but again, still running high. Had about 7 or 8 plates of food. And then you threw out there, fancy training at Gold's? So I was like, give me an hour. Just give me an hour to try and digest. So went to Gold's. I could barely get on some of the machines. I was so bloated. And then we did a little bit of leg training. You trained, I would say, so impressed with your intensity. Even I know that wasn't you at your max, but what you can give to a training session where it's just a bit of fun. It was crazy. I've seen you repping out on that hack squat. That's going to stay with me. You went to failure. Your aim was 5 plates aside for 20 reps halfway through the session. And I was, when you go, one more, and I think you can really grind out one more. You did another 7 reps, and I was crazy. I think you did 23 reps with 5 plates aside, which is impressive, but also, I thought you hit failure at about 16 reps. I was about to start, spotting you, and then you just grinding them out. It was crazy.
Thanks, man.
But it was just a fun time. And then we managed to walk a lot that day. We walked up and down Venice Beach, so that kind of distracted me from food a little bit. Although we had went to the firehouse and had a bob. Yeah, a real cool place. I had steak and rice for $35.
Bob Bowl.
Yeah, Bob Bowl.
They didn't know who Bob was though.
No, that was the most disappointing part of that meal for me. Was
They just
yeah, you're
they
in
just
this
kept saying
iconic
Bob,
place.
didn't they?
Yeah, you're in this iconic place. Like, this is the firehouse. This is where, and they sell it to you like this is where the champions have eaten for, the last 50 years. And you're like, wow, that's amazing. So Arnie used to sit over there, and so okay, I'll have the Bob Bowl. Who's Bob? And I'm thinking it'll be like, I don't know, Bob Paris or something. I've got some decent, champion. And they were like, they looked at the menu like they'd never seen it before. Like, Bob, who? Bob? Bob? Do we know Bob? No, Bob. And I was like, I was throwing out bodybuilders to them, like Bob Ciccarello, Bob, and he was just like, no, we don't know, but we'll make it, yeah. I was like, brilliant, thanks.
I think it's Bob Ciccarello.
I'm just trying
to look online now to see who it is, but I'm thinking it's Bob Ciccarello.
I think it is because he did a series where he trained at Gold's and he went and there afterwards. I remember on bodybuilding.com years ago when I was a teenager, I used to follow like loads of stuff on there, and I'm pretty sure it's Bob Ciccarello. Sort of thing he'd eat, big slab of steak on a pile of rice. But yeah, no, that was great.
They just kept saying Bob like we were meant to understand. They were like,
yeah,
like, no, we're not going to accept just Bob.
Yeah, their answer was, oh, Bob, yeah, no, he's a bodybuilder. And I was like, right, yeah, Bob who? And he was like, oh, he's a bodybuilder. I was like, we're all bodybuilders. If you say his surname, we might know who he is. Yeah. Do you name a bowl after everyone that comes in? So yeah, no. And then we went to the Cheesecake Factory. Yeah, we ate quite a lot. I'm sure there was some food in between there as well. Maybe there was.
No, that was it. We literally had the firehouse, and then we went to Cheesecake Factory.
We walked down to Muscle Beach, didn't we? And then Cheesecake Factory.
Mark Oakes got his calorie-dense shake.
Yeah, wow. It was just like a chocolate bar in a cup, wasn't it?
4 kilo shake.
Yeah, so heavy. Yeah, and then on the way home, I thought, you know what, I'll cap it there. It'll be a real progression for me just to have one day of splurging out, only one day instead of 6 weeks. So I'll go and find some food. And so you guys I jumped out the taxi halfway home and went and found some burrito place. And just asked them for the dirtiest burrito they can make, and they did. So I brought that back, and I was just shattered at that point. I hadn't slept. I slept maybe 4 hours in the last 3 nights, including the time difference and everything else. So sat next to the pool, next to the fire pit with the team, and just gorged on this massive burrito that came with about 30 tacos as well. So yeah, had that, and then just went to bed, and then got up, and we trained and we went to LA Fitness, and ate fairly well that day. And then we went home. Had a couple of hours to kill in the airport though, and I must admit I was hunting around for food a little bit then. But yeah, no, to be honest, so I'm probably about 10 to 12 pounds over contest weight now. So I've gained more than I thought.
That's fine.
I would be happy. We had a conversation because one of my goals was to stay a little bit leaner this off season. But maybe I was a bit too ambitious. Instead of my usual 83, 84 kilos, I was thinking of 78, 77, 78. You're like, come on, man, it's not going to be. And I'm already over that now, So I'm going to be between 79 and 80 kilos, which for me is around like 10% over contest weight. So what I'll do is simple as that. I'll rein things in as soon as I hit that. I don't mind if I look an ugly 79, 80 at the moment, and then my body, composition changes over time. I'm not fussed about that. Yeah. I mean, already my face is really, really quite bloated and stuff, and I feel bloated and watery, and I'm lighter than I would be, looking a lot tighter later, in maybe after Christmas. So I'm not too fussed. I just don't want to get silly. So I then, constantly thinking about mini cuts and that sort of thing. I just want to hold a strong and lean kind of physique, get stronger at that weight over years, and then start the process again. So my 20% battery has just come on. So if we cut off, I do apologise.
We're good. I think we're all right. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
So with that being said, with the off season, sort of the cap and strong and lean, obviously that's going to be beneficial comparison to your previous off seasons.
Yeah.
One of the questions that we did have come through, we won't cover too many of them, but one of the questions that was asked, and I'm again from my perspective, I think it's an interesting question, is people are of the opinion that you prefer to sit lower calories, sit more closer to maintenance calories, and obviously improve gym performance over the off season. So I think people are maybe getting confused with that because you are actually looking to gain scale weight at some point. You're just looking to hover a bit leaner. So with obviously you've set your off season diet at this sort of 3,000 calorie mark. Do you envision your calories going up once you've sort of hardened the body composition, or are you just going to hover at this level? Like, what's the plan once you've hardened up this weight that you're at right now? What's the plan thereafter?
So I'm not a massive, I understand it makes sense to kind of, as you would progressively lower your calories during a prep, progressively increase your calories during an off season, and yes, your body weight would rise. But I know for me, I'm an advanced trainee now. I'm not going to gain more than a pound or two per year. And if I have a really good off season, which I will this time, maybe 2 or 3 pounds. So that makes no sense for me to gain an extra 15 pounds and then have to diet that body fat off and probably lose 1 or 2 of the pounds that I've gained of the 3. So for health, for mindset and just for being strong, and of course for work as well. I'm a personal trainer, fitness instructor. I need to walk the walk. I can't be getting too heavy just for that. It would be fun. I've got a massive appetite. It would be great to put a load of food away. I've never been in a position where I struggle to put food in. But I know for me, if I can be 16 pounds over contest weight, that's enough wiggle room for me to be a couple of pounds heavier come stage time, or at least look better. It's worked for me. Again, I've got to do it my way. It's worked for me every time I've competed, from when I was a novice, then 2 years later winning the open class, then 2 years later as a pro. I've improved considerably. So there's no reason for me then to change the process. So I'll keep it around 3,000 calories, and don't forget that that's not including cheat meals in moderation as well, which at the moment is frequently as every day, and it's not too crazy, but I won't turn anything down, and then by maybe after New Year it'll be once a week, maybe twice if there's stuff going on during the week as well. But it might be just a meal on a Saturday night, a couple of drinks if it's someone's birthday, that sort of thing. Just normal living, So it's probably a higher calorie day that day. But I will keep my weight around that 79 to 80 for probably a few years. And I know that in 3 or 4 years' time, that will be a very lean 79, 80 compared to a 79, 80 now that's watery and flabby and, not very good. So that's the plan.
And I think, so that's nutrition covered. I think one question that also other people are really, really sort of wanting the answer on and wanting to sort of hear your opinion, an open mindset about is, so you've tried, and this is me trying to dissect things within your training. So you've tried increasing volume on the way down when you're dieting, you're in a deficit, and you've tried that with the rotation to your upper lower split. And doing more than your usual 3 times a week of one body part. You tried that when you're in a deficit, it didn't work, you got weaker and your physique was noticeably fading, but you were also coupling with that with 2 forms of stressor, one being the deficit in the prep and the other being having a newborn child.
Yes.
That was timing. So what's your thoughts on maybe at some point trying higher volume or higher frequency coupled with a low stress environment, so your little ones
Off
a little bit
season.
more growing up. There's more sleep. There's less stress from that. Maybe work going really, really well. You know, your work stress is low. Your calories are potentially higher than 3,000. So whether that's from cheat meals or just your general diet is higher than 3,000. What's your thoughts on creating the environment for that and trying, you know, an increased frequency, maybe a four day or a 5 day per week split?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I am going down that route without the frequency at the moment. So this off season,
Yes.
you know what? Last off season, this is how and it somehow it still works and I still improve. But I set my calories at 2,500 in my off season, with carbs around less than 300 a day. So I was almost dieting on more calories for the duration of my prep than my off season last time. That just shows the dangers of a binge and restrict cycle that didn't really stop all the way through. So I was Monday to Friday kind of just going, no, I need to kind of stick to this. And then I'd struggle by the weekends. I'd have the whole weekend of eating way too much. And then I'd be back on 2.5. So now I know that 3,000 is kind of my maintenance for that 79, 80 kilos, around about there, with the odd cheat meal in there as well. So what I'm doing is, less stress from no hit cardio. As much as I was kind of married to that for years, and I've been doing it nearly 10 years, I look and I feel better when I'm not doing it. And because I train 3 times per week, it makes sense to that extra 15, 20 minutes at the end of the session, put that into more weight training, more volume. So that's, the second change. So less HIIT cardio, which is really stressful, especially for things like leg recovery, and more volume in the weights, probably 30% more volume in my weight training now. More variation. I was that guy that used to think, well, just do heavy squats and then your legs will be sorted. But now, last off season, I added in things like leg pressing. And then this off season, I'm adding isolation, things like leg extensions, leg curls and stuff as well. You know, I've never really done them more than, I think last off season, I did a leg extension once, just a little bit, just to play around, leg pressing.
Oh my God.
I had to get convinced to add like leg pressing in because it wasn't hardcore. It wasn't heavy squats, But now I realise that all the guys at the top don't discard anything. They use all the tools in their toolbox.
That's
now I'm
mad.
doing heavier, lighter work with high rep work, low rep work, everything, and I'm going to stick with a 3-day split just because it works really well with my schedule, my family, work and everything else, but it also still accommodates that increase in volume. I can still do that with the 3 days, and I will adapt to that. Now, if I get to a point where I've adapted to that and I plateau, yes, maybe, once, my eldest is at school and, which is this coming September, and my youngest is no longer having night feeds, then maybe, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and I like the idea of a split. I know the frequency, argument, and I've been on that bandwagon, but I enjoy training like a bodybuilder. I enjoy training like your Rich Gosdeckers, your David Kays, your Mark O, your basic, your pros that have built their physique, train like bodybuilders, eating like bodybuilders. I enjoy that more. So that's what I would do. I wouldn't do a higher frequency approach anymore. We spoke about DUP, programming in LA, and that really makes sense to me, but I just wouldn't enjoy it half as much. I'd love the idea of squatting frequently, and I've done that before in the past, heavy, light, medium system and that sort of thing, but that's great for initial growth. If I'm wanting to do this for another 20 years, squatting 3 times a week, I'm going to get injured at some point. I'm going to get, there's a lot of wear and tear on that.
It's fine, it's fine looking at DUP or something like that, or like a percentage based
DUP.
scheme when you don't train that hard. But when you're taking a DUP approach and you're applying the intensity at which you apply to your work sets, taking taking sets to a pretty close proximity of failure and doing that 3 times a week, you're bound to get very, very injured. And it's actually happened to, a few pros. It's happened to Lane Norton, who was one of the biggest advocates of that kind of approach. He's, heavily injured right now, and just coming back, funnily enough. But he's had about 5 comebacks, I think. So this will maybe be one of the final ones. And then you have like someone like Brian Whittaker, who, was extremely strong. I was actually watching some of Brian's sumo videos before my sumo session the other day, because I like doing that. I like watching. I watch like quite a lot of your training videos before I do like an upper session or something like that. And it's find things like that super motivating. But for someone like Brian, he's destroyed his knees, like absolutely said goodbye to his knees with frequency of squatting and deadlifting. But it works because you're able to stay pretty strong and get very strong. But there is a sell by date on things like that. So for example, on like my compound movements, on the ones that I take to a close proximity of failure, I'll only do 2 sets. So I'm only doing in a week, I'm doing 2 sets of sumo and 2 sets of squats. Yeah. But I'm getting, I'm progressively getting stronger at those 2 movements. So I'm adding more credits to my sumo and squat account. It's just taking a little bit longer than if I was to do like 5 sets of 3 or some shit like that. But I'd just be in such a hole of fatigue if I was to do them at the intensity that I want to do them,
No, so, I
think
that
approach
spot on,
for you will pay off massively, mate.
Yeah. I mean, more calories, less crap food, less stress in terms of the HIIT training, which is great for fitness, but it just digs a hole in terms of recovery and reduces the amount of volume that you can do and weights that you can lift. I'm doing things like I used to do like a HIIT on the bike where my heart rate would be like over 100% of my predicted max, and it would be silly. I'd be built up this intensity over years and years, and then I'd be trying to deadlift 2 days after, and I don't have to worry about that now. I can just go into every session.
Your audio's gone all croaky. I can't hear what you're saying. Where were we at? We were talking about Brian and his knees.
Yeah. So DUP, training higher frequency, and why I'm not going to be doing things like that anymore. As I said, I enjoy training like a bodybuilder now. Each body part kind of once per week, and really, hitting it hard, intensity, lots of variation, keeping things fun. So to have a real structured program when you're looking at percentages and that sort of thing, the more structured things get, I think, that's brilliant. And then 3 weeks into training that way, I really don't enjoy it. So what I like to do is I do a 5x5 on your power lift. So a squat day Monday, bench day Wednesday, deadlift day Friday, and then I follow that with your typical bodybuilding type workout. Yeah. So after a squat, it might be leg pressing, could be pyramids, drop set, superset, whatever. It could just be straight sets, and most of the time it is. Still keeping it as heavy as possible, higher rep, leg extensions, leg curls, stiff leg deadlifts, calf raises, seated calf, your basic stuff, going around, some of the cool equipment in your gym, but also, heavy free weights and stuff as well.
How do you
and that's
program
how I like
the
to train.
5x5s out of interest, Ben? Do you keep a few reps in the tank on the first 3 to 4 sets and then go up close to failure on the last one?
I would say it's more experience, but it's I don't go on percentages or anything like that. I just know what I'm currently using for a 5x5, and that last set is failure, or I aim to get every rep, and to be fair, I do, but that last set is always failure. If it's not, and I think I could have done a 6th rep, I increase the weight next time.
Yeah, perfect,
and it's as simple as that. And I've been doing that for many years, and it's still progressing in a linear fashion. It may stall for a few weeks or months on end, and during dieting phases, I keep that in there at the start of every session. And it's a good indicator of what I'm doing. It was pretty cool to look back at my logs for 2016 and see what my 5x5 on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday were, because it was the exact same structure as what I'm doing now. And I was stronger this time around, which I knew had contributed to more growth. As simple as that. Yeah. and add to that more volume. And we spoke a little bit about me getting rid of the hit, which it took a lot of convincing, a lot of thought and stuff, but it was just obvious. I got rid of the hit, and my body felt and looked better. And there's nothing more in bodybuilding than looking better on stage. So I was like, right, I'll get rid of it. I need to have something in its place. So, cardiovascular activity. I don't want to just be going to the gym, hitting weights, and then going home, sitting on the sofa. So I make sure I hit 10,000 steps a day as a minimum. And that keeps me real active. And to be fair, I'm walking a lot more than I was, at work and stuff. That I do that anyway. But on my days off, if I'm at home with the kids and stuff, I've got a dog. Even if I walk the dog a couple of times per day, I'm still not quite doing maybe 10,000 steps. So I'm more effort and I'm more active, and I'm actually feeling a lot more agile because of that as well.
So, I would agree. Like, keeping some baseline level of activity would be good for you, especially with taking out the hit, which you were doing in your off-season anyway, weren't you? You were doing hit in the off-season. So.
Yeah, all the way through. And now there's not only better recovery, not as much stress, more volume for the weights. But yeah, my fitness hasn't dropped at all. My resting heart rate and all that sort of thing is exactly the same. I'm more active. I feel healthier. It's brilliant. So I'll keep doing that. And they're the main changes this time around. So yeah, more food, better food, more activity, but less hit, and more volume in the gym.
Yeah, fantastic. It's going to be a good recipe, I think.
Yes,
And it'll be exciting to follow, to see where you go, and whether your bodyweight cap is what it's going to be, or whether you're going to do a mini cut, diet down, go up again, like rinse and repeat. Because I know that you'll adapt to the process in which you're learning from, but also probably go back to your roots on a lot of things, which have always served you the best benefit, which is just the way things work. Usually, you'll adapt a few things and learn from from my experience. Like, the main thing that I've learned in this off season so far is I was really against mini cuts at the start of it. I was really against them. I was like, nah, just stay in a surplus, like prolong it. But ever since coming down from the peak of 184 that I hit, and then I rinsed that down to like the high 160s, which is really easy. And then since coming back up into the same body weights that I was hitting the last time I was hitting them, the body composition is just way different. It's just always way different, and performance is better as well in these body weights than it ever has been. And I feel way better as well. And it gave me sort of a sense of direction within my off season. Obviously, being a 2-year off season, for me, it was like, before I did the mini cut, I was like psychologically thinking, I've got to prep to like look better. When in reality, I could just do a short fat loss phase and then start coming back up again, and then start looking better and better and better. But
always learning.
That's something that I've learned. Initially I would be like, fuck the mini cuts, but I think they do offer a decent amount of benefit.
Yeah, always learning, mate. I mean, I was always against refeeds. I've kind of gone full circle. I was against refeeds and like, no, it's not hardcore to be. Don't need that. Just eat more food every day. And then I had refeeds for the first half of my prep, where I'd one day have like an off-season amount of 3,000 calories, and I'd feel better. And it was so almost too easy losing body fat at that stage. And then the last, after the Heart of England, I got rid of the refeeds. And I know it was after the UK I got rid of the refeeds, and I tightened up loads. So there's pros and cons to both. But yeah, I think ultimately you've got to be real confident in your approach, and that's what matters.
You can't be lost in your approach. The minute you get lost is like the minute everything starts going wrong. Because you can't sleep at night because you're thinking about what you're going to fucking do in the morning. I remember that. I had a few phases like that in my prep. Where I was
I think we all did, mate.
Yeah, I think I did like a diet break after the UK finals because someone told me, you definitely need a diet break. So I was already on high food, and then I ran even higher food, and I just started to look like, just like really, really, really full, but like too full, like just basically spilled.
Which messes with your head when you've still got business.
Fuck, I'm not liking this look at all. Like, I look like I'm post-show, and I shouldn't be.
You almost prefer to look flat, don't you? You prefer to look flat, and you can put a bit of food in and you'll be all right. But
you almost feel guilty fucking eating when you're like brimmed full. You're like, fuck, like, should I be eating this meal or should I be like digging? Like, should I be? But that's why a diet break is absolute like mind torture for someone who's actually in contest shape.
I couldn't do it.
It's
No,
hard,
I know
but
guys
it's beneficial.
like Steve Hall. He really thrived from a diet break with his last prep.
Yeah.
But he was so in control with it and he was so confident with it. I think that's what mattered. For me, if I had a diet, I couldn't do it. I tried actually. I tried my first ever season. I never made it to the British finals. I won my class at a regional as a junior, and I was told to just chill for it. I had something like 6 weeks, and I didn't have much more fat to lose. I didn't have a huge amount of muscle, so I wasn't going to get silly conditioned. Sure. But I was told just to chill for a week or two. I chilled for like 2 days, and I ended up just binging out, and game over. Even now, I'd really struggle. It's all or nothing. It's an intense sport mindset. So, keep it that way all the way to the end, I say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a diet break is hard in itself, whether you have a period of time off tracking or whether you actually go up to maintenance calories. Maintenance calories when you've got another show is really difficult because you're like, I'm not making any forward progress that's visible yet, but you are actually making progress because you're doing something that's allowing you to make more progress. So with my clients, like, I do definitely run them if I have the time. But the reality is, like, and it's what I talked about a lot in my seminar the weekend, it's like a lot of people will not have the time to do diet breaks.
No.
And
very rarely do people have like spare time during a prep.
Yeah. Like I'm setting up a lot of people at the moment, and like I'm like, now we need to like diet now to get in a better starting position, let alone start like prep now. It's like start a fucking aggressive diet now to get some level of conditioning back, and then maintain for a month, and then start your prep. Start your prep on a much better starting position. Which
and if
you've
anyone
always
needs...
done, to be honest, but you've done that in kind of the wrong fashion. You've started in a good body composition, but from like, if you look at your battery level of cardio and calories, your battery level on calories has never been where it should be at the start of a prep, really, has it?
No, this time around, I don't think my calories went down to 2250. This time round, I reckon if I stayed a little bit leaner with more food, and didn't have the stresses that I've had maybe this year, I'd be getting in the same condition with 300 or 400 more calories a day easily. Maybe more. That doesn't mean it's going to be easier I'll still feel as fatigued on that amount of food, but it just means you're going to have more tissue at the end of it. And if anyone needs any sort of reassurance that you need time to diet as well, like we were just saying, have a look at my my progress photos on my Instagram. At 16, 20 weeks out, people were going, "God, you're peeled! Like, you're completely." I wasn't peeled. Like, upper body was 90% in, but in 20 weeks, how much progress? I didn't make a huge amount of visual progress in my upper body, but lower body just got tighter and tighter. And my body weight came down about 5 kilos. So when you think you're shredded, you probably got another 12 weeks, at least 16, 20 weeks to go. So, and I held my calories at 2250 from 2 weeks before the UK so it was 6 or 7 weeks I was holding that amount of calories and just tightening up. I didn't lose a huge amount of scale weight, but I did tighten up a lot. Just by being in a slight deficit, still training. In fact, trying to train harder and harder. That's the great thing about the lower frequency stuff. You can train real hard and you will recover. So you can keep pushing, and you almost build a little bit of muscle going into the last few weeks because of the highs and adrenaline and everything else. So I do like that approach.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be very interesting to see like your future preps, because you're just only going to get better and better at doing them.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's only going to get better and better. Like I think honestly, what excites me most about your physique and following your progress is that I think you've only just touched the surface on what you're capable of doing, mate.
Yeah,
which is
I agree.
fucking exciting for someone who's a world champion and a pro level.
Yeah,
That's,
I mean, I'm going to have to make massive improvements. There's no,
the thing, that's the thing.
I'm going to be a middleweight next time I compete.
Yeah.
I could be on stage with Babacar, trying to battle it out. That's the.
Well, you will be, hopefully, because he's the best middleweight that's probably one of the best middles that has ever lived,
I reckon he'll keep winning that class and potentially the overall for a long while. Yeah, he's just a sight to be seen. The photos don't do him justice at all either.
No,
it's just so big. He's a couple of inches shorter than me, but he just looks 200 pounds. I've seen IFBB pros in contest shape that don't impress me as much as Babacar.
Same.
He's such a humble guy as well. I was chatting to him, he was got such a kind of real quiet, placid way about him. He's really, really chilled. But apparently he's a MMA 5-time champion in Senegal, where he's from.
He can jump quite high as well.
He can jump pretty high. Yeah, I'd love to be able to do that if I ever won the overall, but I might tear a hamstring. So
I'm scared he's going to go through the stage at some point, like on one of the bounce packs.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's brilliant. I mean, it's a sight to be seen. But yeah, no, the goal is to be battling out with Babacar in.
Yes.
Next time I'm on stage, I want to be competitive with him, and the judges be scratching their heads between us two. If not, be giving me the nod.
Perfect.
So that's the goal.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, that's pretty much it. We could talk forever. I'm pretty sure. But we'll wrap it up there, as we said, as well as Ben said at the start of the podcast. Ben will be logging not only on the forum, but also doing some sort of video content on a weekly basis, whether it's us having a chat or whether it's Ben sort of chatting to the camera himself and giving us an update as to where he's at and what he's doing and whether any of his thought processes or programming or nutrition is changing. And that will be coming on the site. So if you're a member on the site, I know there's plenty of natural bodybuilders that are members on the site that'll be really excited to see that happen. And that is really the goal with the site, is to build it into sort of like, very much like, Trained by JP as a portal for a lot of athletes that are in the assisted realm. I want to make the Made by Morris site or the Team MBM site, whatever you want to call it, not only about, Team MBM, but about natural bodybuilding. I want it to be a natural bodybuilding site where, people go to for video content, because there's not really something like that out there at the moment for naturals. So that's something I want to create over the future, and it will just be a work in progress. But for now, that's pretty much it. So guys, if you've listened to I think this will probably be like an hour and a half in full length. So if you've listened to the whole thing, thank you very much. If you've got any questions for Ben, or you want to reach out to Ben, obviously just contact him via Instagram is probably the best way, right, Ben, to sort of get at you?
That's great. Or on your website, sign up to your website. I've got a log there that I'm going to continue now into my off season. And if anyone's got any questions and maybe ideas of the footage that they want me to create, as I say, I'm going to be talking to the camera for about 10 minutes every week, giving them an update, question and answers. I'm more than happy to take on questions and reel them off on there every week. No problem at all.
Awesome. Fantastic. Can't wait. So yeah, guys, thanks very much for listening as always, and we'll see you whenever the next podcast comes out. All right, guys, thanks again. Do it a bit.